Hey guys, welcome back to the Master of Dungeons. We are here with our next paint video, which is Dracula the Cunning, which as you can see is a pretty awesome green dragon, which he looks like that. I have stuck him together. He is up on, I have not put on his wings, so I think adding the wings are just going to be a huge nuisance and a huge pain in the neck, so I will do those afterwards. I'm going to start with a base coat of pastel and green. I'm going to dry brush that all over, all over the body. And we're going to start on the actual main body. We'll do the stone structure neck later. But that's how it's going to start. We'll cover all of that in pastel and green, and then I'll come back to the next bit. But effectively, we are going to try and make this into a nice bright green dragon. Try and match my fake Tiamat. Try and match this sort of like colour scheme to go similar with all of these brightness, with the greens, to try and keep that in line. Effectively, how I envision green dragon. So this is how it's going to start. Wish me luck. So here we are. There's the dry brushing done. I've not done the wings yet, but I'm going to do that in a moment. Which, as you can see, is fairly easy. Covered it nicely. It's not been too bad. Next, I think. Next, I'm going to put wash in of Beal Tan Green. Just start seeking into all of those. All of those cracks and crevices. And then after Beal Tan Green, we will move on to some nice bright warp zone glow. This is going to be an incredibly quick model as well, because I mean once we do that, then we'll do some moot green, and then I'm probably going to do some tiny highlights of some scarsnake green. But this should be like incredibly quick, because I mean it's enormous and it's pretty much entirely dry brush. The thing that's going to take the time is like the small fine details. But yeah, everything's coming up very quickly, very nicely, and yeah. We will move on to the next bits. First I'm going to do the wings. I'm going to do the inside of these wings, the membranes, in completely different colours as well. I'm undecided on whether to do different types of greens or blacks. I'll think about it later. But that's what I'm going to do next. Alright, here we go. Beal Tan Green. It's starting to dry off, just slowly. But it brings up that, that Castellan green much nicer, much brighter, which is exactly what we wanted. If we look over to the wings, which is starting to sort of dry as well, but you can see the dullness by comparison, which is huge. So that will that will really highlight those. And then of course next, once it's all dry, we'll move on to the warp zone glow and dry brush all of that and give it a really rough sort of like dry brush and a light coating. That should really sort of like bring out all of that nice colour. Right, here we go. Here we go. As you can see, the emerald. What was it? Warp zone glow. Stupid. Let's come up. Here's the wings. I'm still waiting for some certain parts of them to dry. But the contrast in colour is great. It's just much better, much brighter. It's taken a lot more. Come up. Just come up nice and quickly. So this is pretty much how we want our our dragon to look. We've got a nice bright green that shows up. Next, what I'm going to do is start doing highlights of moot green, and I'm going to paint this chest piece a different colour, I think. But yeah, I'm going to start highlighting these ridges and these edges, especially around here as well, down around these, and follow these lines of moot green. This is what's going to take the longest amount of time, because the dry brushing has been the easiest bit, and then doing it on the same with the wings. Effectively, what we're going to do is follow these lines along here, to follow the highlights and raise up these edges. And then effectively on these tips, so the tips of the highlights will be where we use the scarsnet green. But that's it. It's very quick, very easy. Dry brushing, of course, on larger models just cuts down time phenomenally. And we'll do the we'll do that the base here much later. But it's coming up exceptionally well. Looks great. Let's see what happens. I'm also doing the membrane on the on the wings, which I've started here. Which I'm starting on the trusty trio of Deathworld Forest, Leaves in Green, and Green Camo for the highlights. And I will also use Tan Green after I've done this, just to sort of like raise all of that sort of like detailing. Effectively, what I'm just going to do is do Deathworld Forest on all the membrane, then Tan Green to bring that up, then highlight it with not the Deathworld Forest, highlight it with the Leaves in Green, and then just do the tiny bits of shading with Green Camo, which should bring all of that to a nice bright colour. It's very nice grim colour, and match all the green for a green dragon. So I've moved on to the next bit, which is this chest piece here, and this the tail spike here, which I'm effectively doing the same. Deathworld Forest, and I'll do it with the trusty 3 of Deathworld Forest, Leaves in Green, and Green Camo, and I'll do some Tan to raise all of those highlights. But effectively, as you can see, it's just bringing up just a different shade of green, slightly darker. That's going to look quite good, but only needs to be on the chest piece. Might do it on these spikes here. On actually, yeah, I'm going to do it on the horns, and I'm going to do it on these spikes under here for these. I've also done one eye for Avalon Sunset. I attempted that other eye, but messed it up, so I'm going to try that again. Which is there's Avalon Sunset, and then after that I'll raise it up with some Uriel Yellow. So here we go. I've started on the wings, highlighting the membrane with Leaves in Green. Not done the reverse side yet, but that's next. Highlight those just for that. Done both sets of wings, and as you can see, I've also started on this tail piece here, which need to continue more, but it's starting to come up and raise that highlight, which I'll also do, of course, on these horn pieces here, and on the chest piece, and on these horns up here as well. It's coming together very nicely, very quickly. Shouldn't take me as long as the minions, the companion animals did, but we're getting there, and all the highlights coming up. And then obviously, once I've done that, we'll be on to the highlight for the moot green on all of this big green. So moving forward, the wings are done of the Leaves in Camo, and I've started doing these sides of the moot green. So as you can see, it's starting to really brighten up. Obviously, what I'll start doing is doing around these edges, and of course the reverse side. But effectively, here's the start of it, and what obviously the main body is going to look like. Particularly on the main body, obviously the tail's done, nice and finished, and I've done the chest piece, the horns as well. Finish off the other eye, both sides. Green Camo I'm going to do last, and I'm going to do, obviously I'll finish the moot green on the wings first, and then I'll move on to the main body. But I mean, it's coming along very nicely, very quickly, and the highlights are looking great on it. Right, moving on. And so here's the Green Camo on the wings. I've done the underside yet, but as you can see, sort of like effectively I've just highlighted the ridges, these little slight corners here, just to sort of really bring out that highlight. I've started doing it on these horns as well. As you can see, the face and everything else like very nicely highlighted. What I've done is all of these main scales is I'm highlighting them that. All of these bits, these tiny scales down here, I'm going to do with the with the scarsnet green for a different contrast. Obviously I'm about to do the chest piece. I want to do the horns which I've started doing the underside as well of green camo, and I've done the these horns on the chin as well. So coming along very quickly, very nicely. It's really highlighted incredibly nicely as well. So it very much stands out. I mean, look around those eyes. Which that has been the hardest bit with the light. It's needed like the thinnest, tiniest brush, and just the lightest touches just to get around those raised bumps around the eyes. But it's been worth it, as you can see. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the minute, highlighting all of these with green camo, and I'll do this chest piece and do this tail as well, just for some of these raised edges and bring out that detailing, and then we'll move on to the Scarsnet green. So I've started on the Scarsnet green right there, and I personally think it's a bit bright, so I'm going to try Warboss green because it's a bit darker, and then lighten it, and then just do tiny touches with the Scarsnet. So we're going to do some Warboss for some darker green, and I think that's going to be better. So here's the start of the base on the thing. There's a few skulls down here, which there's one sticking out, which eventually we'll do with some Zendry dust. But I started the base with Scaling Blight Dinge, and then I will layer it up with Dawnstone and Administratum Grey. Then I will wash it with some Nuln Oil, and then dry brush it with some Tyrant Skull at the end, just to bring all of those raised highlights and edges. I might do a second, and it looks like I'm probably going to do a second coat, because as you can see there's bits of green here, so probably going to need a second thin coat, but it's getting along there nicely. As you can see, obviously the green camo is all done on these, and the Warboss green is much better on those bits. So we're going to do more of that. Go do some more Warboss green along all of these as well, on these raised edges. But it's coming along, it's very nearly done. Okay, so moving on, next bits. Right, here we go. The tail, I've done a nice light dry brushing of Warboss green, which really brought this out. And it's up here. As you can see, this contrasting colour. Don't show up quite as well. I'll wait until I have some natural light. But trust me, it's looking spectacular. I've also done the second grey on the on the base. So there's just the Administratum Grey to go. Teeth and claws next, and the skulls at the bases, which will be of the same colour, but effectively Zendry dust. Then white and fresh shade, Shabty Bone, and Screaming Skull. Pretty standard. I've also got to paint this here, which I'm thinking of a series of pinks, and of course the tongue as well, and paint inside of the mouth on some black. But that's what's next anyway. Once I do the Administratum Grey here, then we're going to work on the claws for all of those pieces. Right, so Zendry dust is done, although it's looking quite chipped, it's not very good. I'm going to give a second coat, but we've got the skulls down the bottom, and then I'm going to right and flesh shade them as a wash. I've also done some Scarsnet green, just on the highlight of these edges, along there, along the edges, just along there, as well as down the sides here. Painting his tongue, Bugman's Glow, which I'm going to right click flash shade as well. I've also done this bit, this membrane bit as well, which I don't like, so I'm going to do it the same as the wings. So, right click flash shade on the tongue is done. I've repainted. Let's see if I can get that. I've repainted the membrane on the face, and I've also built and greened it, which I will Elysian green it next. I'm going to up the colour on the eyes to a flash gets yellow. It's coming up in a second. I've torrent sculled the base, as you can see, it's looking much better. And I've also started doing the shabty bone on the claws and on the teeth right here. Yeah, which I will then finish off just the tips and ends with not a shabty bone, wrong colour, with some screaming skull. And I will also highlight these skulls down here just around the edges of the eyes and things, with some screaming skull too. But I mean, we're almost pretty much there. There's only the last little bits, last little remnants. Once the tongue dries, next I'll bring it out with some Cadian flesh tone, and then just highlight the tiniest bits with some Kislev flesh as well. And then I'll do a couple of black lines just inside the eyes, like slits. And that's it. Then we just need to glue on the wings and we're done. And here we have it. This is it. Nice and finished. It's the tongue done and the teeth. Just touched up these edges here. There's the eyes, nicely done and finished. The claws, I'm sitting here, finished up, as well as the skulls, their highlights. The wings are sitting nice and perfectly. I've touched up just around the edges because there was a bit of scuffing. The last thing that I'm going to do, I'm not going to show it, but is a bit of purity seal, which will basically just sort of like protect some of this from getting chipped, because let's face it, it's probably going to need it. But there we have it. Very nice, very disgusting, very dangerous green dragon already. I hope you've enjoyed this video anyway. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Hope you've enjoyed the take I've had on it. If you have, please drop me a like, drop me a subscribe. We will do some more painting tutorials coming up in the future. Very soon I will be doing the Vox Machina crew. So that's coming up, which I'm doing a commission for a client who's paying me to paint his his Vox Machina, which also I do. I take commissions. But anyway, see you in the next video. Take care. Thank you very much.